Thank you so much for allowing me to participate telematically over a pre-recorded Zoom call. My name is Amelia Winger-Bearskin, and I am Haudenosaunee. I'm Seneca-Cayuga Nation of Oklahoma, Deer Clan, and I'm also a new faculty here at the University of Florida. I'm in the Digital Worlds Institute, and I'm a Banks Preeminence Endowed Chair of Artificial Intelligence and the Arts in the Digital Arts and Sciences. I'll be teaching my first class this spring, AI plus art, science fiction. I am very excited to talk to you today about The Hope of Our People, which was an exhibition that has been touring. And I love to see that this exhibition has been traveling all over North America. And it is the largest to date show of Indigenous women artists. And I'm really excited to be a part of it. Obviously, a lot of my friends are in the show. We had a lot of fun meeting with each other at the opening, and the conversations we had there at both the opening and for the catalog were really exciting. So I'm going to share a short video with you, which is the background behind the video that I have in the show, which is called 3D beadwork. And something that I'll say just to kind of set up this video is that I love to do beadwork in the Haudenosaunee tradition. In the Seneca-Cayuga Nation, we do a lot of raised beadwork. So even the beadwork that we do has a 3D element. It's layers built upon many layers. And so it's more like a relief. It's very sculptural. And I learned how to do that traditional beadwork, and I love to do it throughout my life. As I was traveling all over the world as an artist, as a performance artist, I used to do beading on planes to kind of keep me sane and to stave off the boredom. And I'm also actually kind of afraid to fly, and so it really helped me, be on the plane and be beading and working on projects. But after 9/11, a lot of my strange things that I used to bring on planes for beadwork, like my quill work for quills, or maybe some of the strange silver work we do as part of our cultural tradition, a lot of times we get confiscated, and these items were like super ceremonial and sacred and had family traditions to me. So I started saying, okay, I can't actually do the beadwork that I used to do on planes. I need to think of something else, but I still need to have my hands be busy. And I love to practice the patterns because it helps me remember the stories. It keeps me close to my ancestors and to remember what I learned from elders in all of those wonderful sessions where they taught me about our beadwork. And so what I did is I ended up using this handy tool, which some of you may also have in your pocket, a phone, and I downloaded a bunch of different 3D software so that I could model my beads in 3D software. And I could just use my fingers, and I would move it around the screen, so it kind of felt a lot like beading. And I would make the same patterns that I would normally make in tiny little beads. I would make these beads and these shapes and the larger representations in files that then I could export as OBJs or STLs and pull them into programs like Cinema 4D or Unity or any of the other kind of 3D tools that I've used over the years. And that is where I got all of those assets that you see in the video for Hopes of Our People, was from all those hundreds of plane trips that I took as an artist, making all of these individual beads, and then I put them together in this video. And the video is silent on display at Hopes of Our People, but I'm going to show you the version with sound that I also have exhibited. So I hope you enjoy it. All right, thank you so much. Nyaweskeno.
If history was written by the victors, then the future will be written by the vectors. Artificial intelligence will radically change our world, our lives, our planet, and it remains to be seen if it will be a positive or a negative. If it's said that those who fail to study history are doomed to repeat it, I would add that those who ignore data have underfitted models. When Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin were looking for a new model to serve as a basis for the United States government, they were very impressed by the Iroquois Confederacy. We call ourselves the Haudenosaunee, people of the Longhouse. We're made up of the Seneca-Cayuga, Oneida, Onondaga, Mohawk, and Tuscarora. Thomas Jefferson spent over a year with us in upstate New York in one of our largest cities. When Jefferson and Franklin and the other founding fathers drafted the U.S. Constitution, they cherry-picked the best parts that were most beneficial to their own political purposes, the bits that seemed to align the best with their But they left out the social and cultural networks that sustained these practices in the actual Iroquois Confederacy. Well, what did they leave out? In the Iroquois Constitution, women, clan mothers from each tribe were the only ones who could vote for the representative, who was always a man, a chief. Actually, the word for clan mother and chief is the same word. There was a balance of power. Only men could serve and only women could vote. Their economy was driven through complex agricultural arrangements. Everyone in the community participated in planting and harvesting. It was not an economy of slavery-dependent plantation agriculture. This is an example of colonial mindset. I see it, I like it, I want it, I'll take it. I take it, and I take what will benefit my own paradigm, but I'm unconcerned with the effect it will have being taken out of context and the effect it'll have on the people I take it from. This is like trying to run a program without checking its dependencies. What if it turns out that the Confederate democracy or lasting peace and prosperity is dependent upon a balance of power along gender lines, or upon a different economic model than the one practiced by European settlers in North America? Or what if it imagines a system of agriculture where the environment is protected and maintains sustainable practices? We all have colonial mindset, just because our culture has colonial mindset. But here's the thing, we're not colonial subjects, and we don't have to live under a colonial empire anymore. In data science, we talk about models suffering from either overfitting or underfitting. Overfitting is when a model exhibits a low degree of bias, but a high degree of variance. In other words, it accepts a lot of differences within the data, but it doesn't have very much predictive power. Underfitting is the inverse of this. High bias, low variance. This is what happens when you make a generalization without enough data, or when the data is not diverse enough to represent the real world. The big problem with colonial mindset is one of underfitting, extracting idea without the context that made that idea work in the first place. I'm here to say, don't colonize our future. Our plans for the future need to include more data from diverse cultures and societies, and not only those ideas that flatter what we already think. For instance, let's say you want to lay the groundwork for a society run on the blockchain. What does that look like? How does that work? What are the consequences? If we don't have significant data, we might just have to wing it. But we actually have thousands of years of data about decentralized economies. The use of wampum among the Iroquois functioned as a decentralized, distributed ledger of contracts, and it helped us govern our society for centuries. Wampum is an example of what I've termed antecedent technology, and there are many more cases like this. In South America, the Inca had a Turing-complete system of knot tying called quipu, which predated modern computing by hundreds of years. When we want to use powerful new technologies such as AI or blockchain, and we want as much data as we can to help us imagine positive change in the world, we do not need to throw out thousands of years of data that can fuel the next giant leaps our communities will make with technology. I want people to know that Indigenous people had technologies that have solved complex issues. I want us to use their data to help us dream our future, and I want us to believe that just because we have had 500 years of slavery, worker exploitation, poverty, and gender imbalance, we have had thousands of years of peace, prosperity, and equality right here in the country where I'm standing right now.